Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome back to Jeremy U's Music Reviews. I listen to music, and you hear my thoughts. I've covered almost every year of the 2010s, both in blog and video form. But now it's time to finish what I started by covering the year where it all began, 2010. 2010 wasn't just the start of the 2010s, it was the year 2010's music started to gain an identity. The songs of 2010 featured both the good and bad elements that would be in many 2011 to 2019 music. But unfortunately, we're starting off with the bad. So be prepared as we look at the top 10 worst songs of 2010.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
Those who followed my music criticism escapades know that I have a penchant for really hot musical takes. The most hated band since Nickelback, I love with a flaming passion, a song many consider to be a funny, quotable, and empowering feminist anthem. I see as cheap, ugly shock value that's as funny as a Seltzerberg movie. A song many people consider to be Imagine Dragons' worst song, I consider their best song. One of The Weeknd's most beloved songs and his biggest hit before Blinding Lights, I Can't Stand. And an artist beloved by every music critic ever, I see as alright but really overrated. And my 10th worst song of 2010 is another one of those hot takes.
California girls were unforgettable. Daisy Dukes, bikinis on top. Sun-kissed skin so hot, will melt your popsicle.
California Girls, spelled with a U,
because poor literacy is cool,
is one of the most obnoxiously cutesy songs I've ever heard. It's like a troll in a Central Park combined with G3 My Little Pony in audio form. Most of this comes from Katie, who is incredibly obnoxious. I've heard worse, but every second of audio from her sounds so ridiculously precious, which is really grating. On top of that, the production is way too poppy. It does have some decent elements, but those elements are drowned out by the saccharinely ugly elements. And before anyone says, Jeremy, this song is meant to be silly, brainless fluff, stop critiquing it like it's a serious song. Yes, I am well aware that California Girls is brainless fluff, but it's just not the brainless fluff that I like. This is my kind of brainless fluff.
Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
41274 where I'm from, big go bison, make these guys run.
We just trying to catch a good time, even if it takes all night. Watch out my wrist, it go like sha sha sha, sha sha sha. I got your bitch singing la 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 la, la la la.
I wanna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with him. Do the
Those songs are fun, wholesome, happy, and ridiculously silly. Meanwhile, California Girls is just an obnoxiously precious piece of sugary nothing. So why is it only number 10? Well, a lot of why I dislike CG comes down more to personal preference than objective quality, and Snoop Dogg does a pretty good job. But yeah, California Girls is an obnoxiously cute, dumb piece of nothing that lays on its brainless factor way too thick to be any kind of fun. If you like it, good for you, it's just not my thing.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
I have mixed feelings on Pink. On the one hand, she does seem like a good person and has made some really good songs like So What, Get the Party Started, We've Got Scurvy, and her new song Cover Me in Sunshine. But she's also made some really stupid, obnoxious, boring dreck like Just Like Fire, Blow Me One Last Kiss, and this abomination.
So where's your class if you are wrong in all the right ways? All the underdogs, we will never be anything but loud.
Razor Glass is an absolute mess. The production is an obnoxious pile of noise. Pink sounds really bad, but the main reason Razor Glass is so awful are the lyrics. These lyrics go beyond bad, or even laughably bad, and head straight on into mad raving loony territory. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a journey into the insane world of Razor Glass, shall we?
Right, turn off the lights. We gonna lose our minds tonight. What's the dealio?
Pink just said, "What's the dealio?" with a straight face. Do I need to explain why that's stupid?
Body crasher, penny snatcher. Call me up if you a gangster.
Pat Monahan is more of a thug than you are, Pink.
So raise your glass if you are wrong in all the right ways.
First, what does raise your glass mean in this song? That's never really clarified. Secondly, what on God's green earth does "if you're wrong in all the right ways" mean? There's being inclusive, and then there's just babbling nonsense.
Why so serious?
I'm pretty sure Heath Ledger's Joker is gonna sue.
Can't stop coming in hot. I should be locked up right on the spot. It's so on right now. It's so fucking on right now.
Okay, why should you be locked up, and what exactly is on? That's the kind of insanity that Raise Your Glass demonstrates. Oh, and what the hell is this music video? I mean, look at this. Not only is Pink Rosie the Riveter for some reason, but also she's milking women and feeding the breast milk to a cow while wearing a burglar mask, hanging out at a skating rink, and my personal favorite, getting into a sumo match with the freaking Monopoly Man. The music video for Just Lose It called. It said you need help. Raise Your Glass is a gigantic pile of obnoxious madness, topped off by the insane ramblings of a madwoman in one of the weirdest music videos ever made. I actually kind of recommend checking out Raise Your Glass just once, because it's so insane that it has to be seen to be believed. But Raise Your Glass is not a song worth toasting to. Here's hoping Pink doesn't make anything as bad as this again.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of poise and rationality.
Remember in my best songs of 2012 list when I said the less said about sexy bitch the better? I wish it stayed that way. Do I even need to explain why this song is on here? It's Sexy Bitch by David Guetta and Akon. But I'll go into detail anyway. The production is obnoxious and repetitive, just the same beeping chord repeated ad nauseum with no groove or difference. As bad as Titanium was, at least Guetta tried on that song. Here, Guetta's production is the most generic club sound ever. So, Guetta sucks, but what about Akon? Well, outside of this song, the only other Akon song I've heard is Lonely, which I actually really like. Similar to AJR's The Trick, Lonely brilliantly uses chipmunk vocals to convey the emotions Akon is feeling, and Akon himself has a really good flow and is able to convey a lot of emotion. None of which is present in Sexy Bitch. You could replace him with any generic rapper and nothing would change. He doesn't exhibit any character, charm, or charisma. Hell, he isn't even sleazy. If Akon was sleazy, he'd at least be memorable, but instead he's just a generic rapper rapping over even more generic production. Oh, and the lyrics. Imagine Wiggle by Jason Derulo and Snoop Dogg, remove the stuff about butts, and make the lyrics even more stupid. And that is Sexy Bitch's lyrics in a nutshell. Akon tries to compliment this girl, but every one of these compliments comes off as incredibly sleazy and feel like general statements said only to get the girl to sleep with him, not because Akon genuinely feels this way. Sexy Bitch is just an obnoxious, dumb song that's not even fun in a bad in a fun way. If you want a good Akon song, just listen to Lonely and skip this drivel. Next.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
Kesha is one of the most iconic artists of the 2010s, and I definitely understand why. She's made a ton of fantastic party jams and some really poignant songs. But unfortunately, she does mess up once in a while. And my 7th worst song of 2010 is a great example of Kesha at her worst.
There's a place downtown where the freaks all come around. It's a hole in the wall. It's a dirty free for all.
Yeah, I bet you thought this was going to be blah blah blah. Well, blah 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 is a bad song, and I'll talk about it more in the dishonorable mentions, but Take It Off is just absolutely insufferable. I've seen some people that actually like this song, and if you like Take It Off, good for you, but I have no idea why anyone would like this song. Take It Off tries to be a fun, enjoyable party song in the vein of TikTok, but unlike TikTok, which has fun, poppy production, the production for Take It Off is uglier than Warty the Toad. It's an ugly mishmash of ear-grating dubstep and an odd sample of the streets of Cairo. Every time I listen to it, I get the urge to vomit. And yes, I enjoy Like a G6, despite that song having production just as messy, if not more so than Take It Off. But with Like a G6, the production was bouncy and fun, and the flaws in the production, like the stuttering effect and the boopy synths, made Like a G6 fun. Meanwhile, the buzzing synth, twinkling, and the deepening of Kesha's vocals makes Take It Off a chore to listen to in every sense of the word. Speaking of which, Kesha herself. She sounds awful. She's not as obnoxious and vapid as she was on Blah 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 and a certain song coming up, but she is just insufferable here. Kesha comes off as the kind of person who doesn't just love parties, but is addicted to them and forces that addiction onto everyone, whether they want to party or not. Like Cardi and Megan in WAP, she doesn't come off as inviting, she comes off as a predator about to eat her prey, and that makes me uncomfortable. California Girls is a song I don't really like, but understand that it's not my thing. But the appeal of Take It Off utterly escapes me. It's ugly, it's uncomfortable, and I can't listen to it without getting a stomachache. If you like this song, fine, but the sooner I stop listening to this garbage pile of uncomfortableness, the better. Oh, and this song was also produced by the 6ix9ine of producers, Dr. Luke. As if I didn't have enough reasons to hate Take It Off.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
While my 6th worst song of 2010 is nowhere near as vomit-inducing as Take It Off, it makes up for that by being a pretentious mess with one of the worst messages I've ever heard a song have.
If I die young, bury me in satin, lay me down on a bed of roses, sink me in the river at dawn.
Dear God, this song is pretentious. Every single second of If I Die Young just screams, "Ooh, look at me, I'm so important." Let's start with the production, and I absolutely hate the way this song sounds. Like Amnesia by 5 Seconds of Summer, If I Die Young's production tries way too hard to be emotional and soft, but fails because it comes across less like an emotional and impactful ballad and more like a trailer for a really bad romance movie. It's as plastic as the town of Thneedville from Illumination's Lorax movie, and as such, it doesn't get me roped into the song at all. As for the vocals, dear God. Kimberly Perry's voice is so unbelievably bland. Maybe she sounds good in other songs, but here her voice is so unbelievably processed and sterile. It's like the audio version of packing peanuts. But what truly makes If I Die Young such an awful song are the lyrics. As much as I hate 1,000 Years and Shallow, at least those songs were harmless and didn't try to promote any harmful messages. But If I Die Young is a song that's literally about how Kimberly's character will finally be taken seriously after she dies. And no, the song doesn't frame this as teenage angst, it plays it seriously. This song is genuinely expressing the idea that dying is a good thing because it'll get you more famous. Yes, there are people like Vincent van Gogh who only got famous after they died, but the chances of something like that happening are incredibly slim, and even if they weren't, no song should be promoting death of any kind. How this song got off the cutting room floor is beyond me. And the way this song portrays death is as insensitive as the Five Chinese Brothers. Seriously, look up the Five Chinese Brothers. It's one of the most messed up children's books ever made. With lines like, "The sharp knife of a short life, she'll know I'm safe with you when she stands under my colors. Who would have thought forever could be severed by?" and "Funny when you're dead how people start listening." This is just awful. On a production level, If I Die Young is a pretentious piece of annoyance. But on a lyrical level, it's an incredibly toxic song that frames death as a happy thing, which is a terrible message. The fact that If I Die Young escaped my bottom 5 is nothing short of a miracle. Speaking of which, let's get to the 5 songs worse than this one. Prepare your ears because this is gonna get rough.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of poison rationality.
I have a love-hate relationship with Jason Derulo. On the one hand, he has a ton of great songs. Talk Dirty Swallow and Get Ugly are bops. Trumpets is a nostalgic guilty pleasure. Xian is, I hope I'm pronouncing it that. Xian is really good. Riding Solo is going to be in the honorable mentions of my best list, and I even like Savage Love, although the BTS remix blows chunks. Nothing against BTS, they just sounded really bad and didn't work with the production the way Derulo did. However, Jason does have some bad songs in his discography as well. The most obvious example is Wiggle, which is one of the stupidest songs ever made, and not in a good way. But while I can understand people claiming Wiggle is JD's worst song, it is a masterpiece when compared to the atrocity that is What You Say.
Tell me, girl,
What you say? That you only meant well, because you did. What you say?
what you say, what you say.
That it's all for the best, because it is.
I don't know how controversial of a statement this is going to be, but What You Say is the worst example of sampling in music ever. For those who don't know, What You Say samples the song Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap, made famous by the Dear Sister sketch from SNL. And it does a terrible job. Sampling is a musical convention that has a lot of potential. Not only can it introduce people to an obscure song, but it can combine two types of creativity to make something incredibly unique. There are many examples of great sampled songs. Back in Time by Pitbull, Way Less Sad by AJR, Toxic by Britney Spears, Stronger by Kanye West, Pump It by the Black Eyed Peas, Hard to Forget by Sam Hunt, and many others. These songs and more are able to take old pieces of music and do something new and innovative, often outdoing the original, and fitting them in so naturally you can't even tell it's a sample, with the exception of Hard to Forget. And to say What You Say doesn't do any of that is an understatement. More like it doesn't realize that that's an option. The hide and seek sample in the song is so jarring, it makes jump scares look ordinary by comparison. That opening, where the sample sputters around like a dying car, makes me feel a combination of fear and anger that doesn't go away until the song ends. On top of that, it doesn't even sound like it came from the song itself. The sample reminds me of when people post full movies on YouTube, but to avoid a copyright strike, they manipulate the footage by doing things like making it go faster, making it hard to see, slapping a logo all over it, or even playing it in a completely different language. It feels like they did that to the sample, even though there's no reason to, as I don't think they did it illegally. Escape from Tomorrow was literally a film that was filmed at Disneyland in secret, and it had alright film quality, although there's enough wrong with that movie. See Some Jerk with a Camera's review for more information on that. But this sample that, as far as I can tell, was acquired legally, sounds like a freaking bootleg. But enough about the sample. What about JD himself? Well, he's not as bad as the sample, but Derulo is still really bad. Like Akon in Sexy B-Word, you could replace Derulo with literally anyone else like him and nothing would change. He offers none of his charisma, charm, or anything else that makes Jason Derulo Jason Derulo. And the worst part? This song could have been alright. Look at this interview Jason had with Digital Spy about the song. Basically, my brother called me one day and said, I cheated on my girl, but I love her so much, and I hope she'll give me one more shot. I found his story really compelling, so I just went into the studio and tried it out. You know, people go through that kind of thing every day, which is why this song is so relatable. She did take my brother back, and they're actually engaged now, so it all worked out good in the end. That's actually a really interesting backstory as to why this song was made, and Derulo mentions in the same interview that he thinks Imogen Heap is really talented, and that both him and J.R. Roten, the producer of the song, loved the original Hide and Seek. So then why did you two butcher it like this? I'm glad Imogen Heap liked this song, but I consider What You Say a complete mountain of trash in every sense of the word. If any of you out there are considering making a sampled song, use What You Say as a guideline on how not to make one. Next.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of poison rationality.
Baby by Justin Bieber and Ludacris is one of the most overhated songs ever. At the time of its release, everyone hated Baby, and I'm sure some people hate it to this day. But while Baby isn't a masterpiece, it is nowhere near as bad as people make it out to be. Baby is just your standard, ordinary pop song, and it feels more like people hated it because Justin Bieber was on it than because of how awful the song itself was. But while Baby was an alright song that was only made infamous because of the Bieber hate at the time, the other hated Bieber hit from 2010 actually did deserve all the hate it got.
Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Shawty is a eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover.
I've been wanting to tear this song apart for a long time. And now that I have an opportunity to, let's get right into why Eeny Meeny is one of the worst songs ever. Let's start with the production, and this makes Sexy B-Word's production look good. From those annoying womp womp womps to the obnoxious trap skitters to the dubstep effects on Sean and Bieber's voices, it's just pitiful and amateurish in the worst way. And dear God, do Sean and Bieber sound like garbage. Sean Kingston is trying to do a reggae type voice but fails miserably, and Justin's voice is annoyingly childish. Yes, this was well before he hit puberty, but Bieb's voice just sounds so uncanny. Another bad creation sounded better on Playground, and they were just as young, if not younger than Bieber on this song. And then there's the lyrics. Every inch of these lyrics feels so sleazy and delusional. The song tries to set Sean up as this big, grand guy who's in love with a girl who can't decide between him and Bieber, when in reality she's not interested in either of them, and Sean can't accept this, so he makes up this whole can't decide delusion to cope with this fact. Oh, and Shawty is an eeny, meeny, miny, mo lover. Really? Sean, do you not know how stupid you sound while saying that? That line is too stupid to be a lyric in Raise Your Glass, yet this song is treating it as a serious line. Why? Just why? Eeny Meeny is just a worthless song. There is no way it could have been good, as its premise is too stupid to work even in a comedic context, and the poor production and worse vocals certainly don't help matters. If you're on a Justin Bieber hate kick and want to go after Baby, remember who the real enemy is.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of voice and rationality.
Well, this was inevitable.
Chunking up the
Told you that I'm leaving.
Yup. Deuces by Chris Brown, Tyga, and Kevin McCall, the most hated song of 2010 and topper of many worst songs of 2010 lists, is only number 3 on my worst songs of 2010 list. I'll get to the 2 songs that I think are worse than this later, but for now, let's talk about why Deuces is such an awful song. First off, the title. I know that Deuces refers to the 2-hand motion, but I cannot hear this title without thinking of poop. Which is appropriate because this song is as disgusting as poop. The production is really unsettling and not in a good way. The snaps are annoying as hell, everyone sounds terrible, and these lyrics can legit die in a fire. Like seriously, the lyrics to Deuces can legit die. It's bad enough that Breezy, Tyga, and Kevin are all terrible people, yet they're collabing on a song that's a kiss off to exes, but the way they tackle it makes the trio even more unlikable than they already are. They go on and on about how terrible and awful their exes are, and yet they try to play it off like they don't care, which is about as convincing as Clark Kent's glasses disguising his identity. It is so freaking obvious that they are not over their exes and most likely will never get over their exes, rendering the entire song a hypocritical piece of garbage. Oh, and the lyrics are also unbelievably misogynistic, framing the women as lying jerks who broke their hearts, even though the men are clearly the bad guy in this scenario. And don't even get me started on the lyric, like Tina did Ike in the limo, it finally hit me. That lyric is a whole can of worms that I do not even remotely want to get into. Deuces is just an ugly, toxic, bitter, misogynistic song that makes Hot Girl Bummer look mature and happy. It's a terrible song from terrible people with terrible lyrics that I'm just going to throw the deuces at and make go away.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things with a sense of poison rationality.
So, what two songs could possibly be worse than Deuces? Well, we'll get to number one later on in the video, but for now, let's talk about number two. And honestly, once you find out what it is, you'll understand why I put this song above Deuces.
Go girl, it's your birthday, over wine. I know you're thirsty.
Unlike Deuces and my number one song, the production for Say Ah actually isn't that bad. It's nothing special, but it's really catchy and doesn't get annoying. So why is this song so high? The lyrics. Good God, these lyrics. The song starts out normal enough with generic club banter about how hot a girl is, but then Trey says, "I'ma beat your body like a congo." Okay, first, a congo isn't a drum. You're thinking of either a bongo or a conga. Secondly, you just implied that you would beat this woman, as in physically assaulting her. That's not okay. But it gets worse from there. Trey Songz then goes on to say some pretty cringy lines like "Shawty dance like a video vixen" and "trying to get you home or will you be Marge Simpson." Oh my God, that line is so stupid. And then it turns out that Trey legit drugs this girl, and then Fabulous, or however it's pronounced, I don't even care, comes in and starts rapping about how he's encouraging the girl to drink and brushing off any questions the girl has about what he just gave her.
Police! Help! Police! Help! Police! Help!
And after making a reference to Blame It by Jamie Foxx and T-Pain, Fab then says that the girl is, quote, thirsty but don't know where her glass at. Dude. Say Ah is just a disgusting song. Deuces is bad, but it's just a misogynistic whine fest. Say Ah, on the other hand, is a creepy, disgusting song about drugging a girl, and unlike Freaky Friday, its production is not even remotely good enough to make up for its numerous flaws. I hope you two get evicted from all the clubs in the world and never get the chance to drug girls ever again. So what could possibly be worse than this? Well, before we get to that monstrosity, here are the dishonorable mentions.
Was all I knew, you and me only. I did it all for you, still you were lonely.
The production is an incredibly obnoxious amalgamation of noise. Drake's flow is so off the beat, he makes Blueface look like Eminem, and Timbaland is forgettable despite this being his song. The only good thing about Say Something is that its title keeps making me think of the much better Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton collab of the same name.
She ain't gon' tie me down. Why you on the road? Got it on the shirt, saw the hat, saw the clothes. What you want right now? What up right now?
Incredibly dated and unbelievably misogynistic, but also really forgettable. Also, Tie Me Down is a women's rights anthem compared to Deuces.
Taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck, taste me how to duck.
Everybody love me. Everybody love me.
Too catchy for me to hate, but too boring for me to like. Also, nobody but Bruno Mars and Blake Shelton remembers the Dougie.
I wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. Down, rock right now. I wanna.
A tacky and obnoxious electropop song with painful chipmunk vocals from Fergie.
chick bad, better than dirt. My chick bad, better than dirt. My chick bad, better than dirt.
The production is obnoxious, yet so catchy it can't leave your head. The title is grammatically incorrect. Ludacris is annoying, and Nicki is absolute garbage. Also, just because the vocal stuttering effect worked in Like a G6 doesn't mean it'll always work. I'ma Be is an obnoxiously dumb, stupid piece of ineptitude that feels like they combined 7 different songs into one. But it's too enjoyably stupid for me to put on the list officially, and the ending is actually pretty decent.
Wanna spend it all on you, baby. My room is the G-spot. Call me Mr. Flintstone. I can make your bed rock.
If you played a drinking game where you listened to Bedrock by Young Money and Lloyd and took a drink every time you heard a stupid lyric, you would die of alcohol poisoning by the 2-minute mark. And I kinda love it for that. I mean, look at some of these lyrics. And now we murderers because we killed time. I'm that Red Bull, now let's fly away. I see me with her, no Stevie Wonder. Oh, that was your girl, I thought I recognized her. She knows she bad, I got her grocery bag. She watching that Oxygen, I'm watching ESPN. But when that show ends, she all over my skin, lotion. And of course, call me Mr. Flintstone, I can make your bed rock. It takes a special talent to make lyrics that hilariously bad. Also, the production is actually kind of catchy. In a good way.
Bottoms up, ever see a cup? Got a couple bottles, but a couple ain't enough. Bottoms up.
While I don't hate this song as much as Sicka BOT1 does, it's still really bad. The production is obnoxious and dark, Trey sucks, and what the hell is Nicki doing? Also, Mr. Steal Yo Girl is a terrible pseudonym, and the music video is creepily similar to The Cell. I'm not even kidding. Look at this. Image 1 is from the music video for Bottoms Up, while Image 2 is from the 2000 science fiction psychological horror film The Cell, which is literally about going into the mind of a serial killer. Tell me those two don't look like they're from the same thing.
And who do you think you are? Running around leaving scars, collecting a jar of hearts.
While it's nowhere near as bad as 1,000 Years, Jar of Hearts is still an incredibly mopey, dull song that's not enjoyable in any way. Obnoxious and boring as hell thudding production. Nicki Minaj putting in no effort whatsoever, a baffling and stupid music video, and incredibly moronic lyrics.
Blah, blah, blah. Think you'll be getting this? Nah, not in the back of my car. If you keep talking that blah, blah, blah.
Like I said earlier, Blah 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 by Kesha and 303 is a bad song. It's unbelievably vapid, insanely obnoxious, and incredibly annoying. But the reason I didn't put it on the list officially is that, unlike Take It Off, which is a boring, dull mess, Blah 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 is incredibly fascinating. Every single mistake Blah 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 makes it an incredibly fascinating disaster piece of music. Also, 303 come in to deliver their signature charm, which alone makes this song more tolerable than Take It Off. So, yeah, I guess you could say Blah 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 is a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's absolute trash, but it's incredibly fascinating in all the ways that it fails, and 303's contribution is pretty entertaining, albeit a little too short. But neither of that changes the fact that Blah 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 is really bad. And now, number 1. I like 303. They've made a ton of really great songs, like the problematic but catchy and fun Don't Trust Me, the incredibly beautiful Hologram, their really fun and catchy collab with 100 gecs Lonely Machines, the trippy as hell Freak Your Mind, the catchy and cool Kisseltoe, Hear Me Now and Mad at You, both of which are insanely catchy bops, I'm So Sad, which I talked about in my original 10 Good Songs of 2021 video, and My Dick, which is basically the male version of WAP, but funny and with good production. But even as someone who likes 303 and has really hot musical takes, My First Kiss is freaking awful!
My first kiss went a little like this, and twist, and twist.
Well, my first kiss went a little like this, and twist, and twist.
No more teachers.
Like Hot Girl Bummer, My First Kiss is the personification of what 303 haters see Sean and Nathan as. Two obnoxious, unfunny dude bros who make disgusting songs about sex. Let's start with the production, and wow! I've seen incompetent production before, but My First Kiss is on a whole nother level of incompetent. Incredibly fake clapping, idiotic boops and bweeps, and annoying thudding percussion. Don't Trust Me had infinitely better production than this, and it was made 2 years before My First Kiss. Oh, and like Take It Off, Dr. Luke produced this song. Again, as if I didn't need any more reasons to hate this song. But what about 303 themselves? Since they were really good in the other 303 Kesha collab and are good all around, surely Sean and Nathan would be good in this 303 Kesha collab as well, especially since it's their song, right?
Wrong!
303 are awful in this song. In songs like Don't Trust Me, Starstruck, and Blah Blah Blah, Sean and Nathan come off as jagoffs, but still have an underlying charm that makes their jagoffery tolerable. However, that charm is 100% absent in My First Kiss. Like Kesha in Blah Blah Blah, Sean and Nathan take the parody so far that it's not even remotely enjoyable. They're so smarmy and obnoxious that it makes me feel like a girl these two are hitting on that's feeling the urge to slap them for being such smarmy jerks. And that's coming from someone who actually likes these guys. As for Kesha, unlike in Blah Blah Blah, where 303 were the only genuinely good part of an otherwise vapid and obnoxious train wreck, Kesha is just as obnoxious as the boys. She doesn't even do that much. She just says, well, my first kiss went a little like this. I mean, it's good that she doesn't do much as she gets less of a chance to be annoying, but still, 303, you got Kesha to be in your song. Have her contribute at least a little more. And then there's the lyrics. While the lyrics in this song aren't reprehensible like Deuces or Say Ah, they're still really gross. Every lyric just takes the concept of making out and discusses it in the most disgustingly graphic, unfunny, and uncomfortable way. It makes WAP look like a song from Barney. And I'd be more forgiving if there was a certain sense of charm or self-awareness, but there isn't. And if there isn't any self-awareness or charm, you're just left with a worthless pile of lyrics that disgust more than they entertain. Bottom line, My First Kiss is bad. Really, really, really bad. It's an obnoxious, ugly, disgusting, unfunny piece of noise that makes 3 really talented artists look like talentless hacks. My First Kiss isn't even so bad it's good, as it's too unlistenably awful and disgusting for me to laugh at. But even though My First Kiss is awful, I do recommend checking out 303's other stuff, especially Don't Trust Me, Double Vision, I'm So Sad, Lonely Machines, Kisseltoe, and their 2016 album Night Sports. But avoid My First Kiss at all costs. 303, Kesha, I'm not mad, just disappointed. Really, really disappointed. And that's the list. Comment your thoughts as well as your own worst songs of 2010 lists, and be sure to tune in for the best list when it comes out. But till then, this is Jeremy, over and out.